Okay, Raymond Hood, also born on the 29th of March, but in 1881. Again, the guiding marks is the birth of Le Corbusier. Le Corbusier was born in 1887, so he was 6 years older than Le Corbusier. Raymond Mathewson Hood was an American architect, you see, born on March 29th, and that's the reason we talk about him today, to wish him happy birthday. Was an American architect who worked in the Neo-Gothic and Art Deco styles. He's best known for his designs of the Tribune Tower, American Radiator Building, and it happens that I worked in that building for almost a year until I was fired, and Rockefeller Center. Through a short yet highly successful career, Hood exerted an outsized influence on 20th century architecture. This was the man, and he studied also in France, at MIT in the United States, some drawings. He did also some visionary drawings, if we are to call them so, like those towers were envisioned by him. He also, as opposed to other visionary architects, he also built, and built well. Raymond Hood. Now we start with this asylum. I think I have only one picture from 1924. It's an asylum, nothing glorious in the function of the building, but I think necessary. But also in the 1924, he won a very important competition. Some think that this was the most important architectural competition ever. The Tribune Tower for the Chicago Tribune, the newspaper, in 1924, and there were some very important architects who took part in that competition, like Walter Gropius or Adolf Loos. He won it with a building having the top part, Gothic influences. So it's a skyscraper with some longings for the France where he studied in, and he brought to the United States a certain, I imagine, nostalgia for the culture of Europe. But it's kind of interesting, to bring the Gothic or the Neo-Gothic and marry it with the function of the office tower, of the capitalistic office tower. And the building was built for a newspaper, Chicago Tribune. And this is how the building looks like now. And I think they sold the building, or I think I saw somewhere images that some expensive apartments and penthouses, are accommodated now at the top of the tower. If you see this fragment, you will say this is from a French cathedral, La Cathédrale de France. Well, it's not. It's the Tribune Tower in Chicago, built in 1924. Or he won the competition in 1924. Now, how many skyscrapers have at the top part what we see here? Not many. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know, but he tried to bring some sensitivity into the office building. And I don't know, did he succeed? I used to be critical towards this kind of hybrid architecture or eclectic architecture, but I don't know. The touches of historicism could be problematic, but equally problematic could be too much purism or puritanism. Look at the entrance to the Tribune Tower. How many office buildings in the world have such an entrance? Unfortunately, a newspaper is just a media channel, very often, corrupted, because news sell. And Yeah, we can talk about this. You know, is it all right to bring Gothic or Neo-Gothic, you know, aspirations for such a function? You know, Raymond Hood House, Stamford, 1924, also 1924. I only have bad pictures with this house. Yeah, nothing apparently glorious. Now this building is, I think, very nice, and it just happened that I worked in it for about 8 months without knowing anything about its architect, without knowing anything about Raymond Hood. And it's at Bryant Park in New York City, and it's I would say an impressive tower. It's an impressive tower exactly because, like in the case of the Tribune Tower, he felt the need to approach the sky with this agglomeration of Gothic elements, but there is also this contrast between, you know, black and gold, and it has presence. It's a special tower. It stands out. Raymond Hood. He built also without Gothicisms, and we are going to see the Daily News Tower, which is like this. An interesting architect, Raymond Hood. I myself have to learn more about him. He died kind of young, so, you know, if he lived 30, 40 more years, like Frank Gehry or many other architects today, I'm sure we would have had a very large body of work. But even like this, he built a lot. Here we see on the left the building, the Radiator Building by Raymond Hood, and on the right, Empire State Building. Now I imagine, you know, it was built for you know, a manufacturer of radiators. Yeah, you know, like with the bankers who always talk about art, radiators probably always had dreams of, you know, warming up, you know, a cathedral or something. But the building, as you can see, if you compare it to the surrounding buildings, it does have character and it does have personality. Bethany Union Church, 1926, Chicago. I don't know. It's a church less spectacular than the Radiator Building. Ocean Forest Country Club, South Carolina, 1926, 1927. Well, you know, at that time, Le Corbusier was building Villa Savoie, a very different building now than this country club. McCormick Mausoleum, I couldn't find pictures of it. I would have been interested to see it. William Morris House, Greenwich. This makes me think a little bit of Edwin Lutyens. I wonder if Raymond Hood knew that he was born on the same day with the British architect. Now this is a building on Fifth Avenue in New York, 1927, without much glory. Again, a capitalistic structure, some kind of a. But I see here, I don't know what it is. You know, I see a piano, the concert piano, and then I don't know what's going on. What's the function of this? It doesn't say. It's probably some office building or a bank or something. But anyway, here on the right you see the AT&T building by Philip Johnson, built in the, I think, at the end of the 80s, early 90s, as a postmodern gesture from Philip Johnson. Now another building in New York, 84th Street. This is an urban insertion, if I am to describe it so, but with some interesting ornamentation here, you know, and we don't use ornaments like this any longer, but maybe we should again. I don't know. Or maybe I shouldn't use the word should. Could. Ideal house, but it's a building from 1929 with some, I would say, attractive ornaments at the top. It would be interesting in a way to compare this building to the Loss House in Vienna. I don't know why I'm thinking of comparing this. It's, you know, it's a black box. It's, if you make abstraction of the top, it's almost a contemporary building. If you also make abstractions of the windows, the way the glass is put to work, but the ornaments at the top, this is avoided these days, but I wouldn't dismiss it. I think what happens at the top is attractive and maybe even symbolically telling. I don't know the story about. I see the ogival arch, the Gothic, but abstracted and in a way brought closer to modernity. This building is in London, it's not in the United States, by this North American architect, Raymond Hood. I think ornament, if it's well done and if it grows from the structure in a way and then marries the structure and creates a oneness with the structure, could bring some joy to the labor of the architect. And in its absence, I'm not so sure that joy is always present. Because the ornament brings back a level of artistry and capriciousness, which are needed, I think. You know, the subjectivity of the architect. Now, the Daily News building is different from what we saw in London, 1929, and it's a building that, you know, even today, if it was built like this, with the exception of these figurative ornaments, it's a massive office building, again built for a newspaper, not Tribune Tower, but the Daily News. And you can see from this picture, it was dominating everything and everybody. And it's not even a so, I mean, the Daily News is not the most sought after newspaper by intellectuals. But the building is ambitious and was well built by Raymond Hood. You see a much newer building on the right, and then in the middle of the picture, the building by Raymond Hood. Here he got rid of the ornaments at the top, the cornice. I personally think the building has more dignity than the newspaper it serves. Now, a Masonic temple, also 1929. I couldn't find great pictures. This is rendering. It looks like some kind of a temple, yes. Look at the cars and look at the temple. And the interior is Very impressive, I would say. Maybe too impressive. Anyway, Beaux-Arts apartments, well, they don't look so Beaux-Arts, but they were built on 44th Street. They look rather almost modern, modernistic. But you are going to see a little bit later so-called international style experiment by Raymond Hood that really took me by surprise. I would have never thought that he did this building. You are going to see it in just one picture. Dupont building, another one of these mega buildings which don't impress me very much in terms of architectural quality, but anyway. Another residence, this one was he built together with this person who I guess a French architect. And about this I read that in 1930 it was an exercise in international style. I'm not so sure about that, but it does surprise you. The building is very modernistic compared to what we saw before. Rather interesting. I am not sure what's going on here, but anyway, Rockefeller Center, nothing less. Rockefeller Center, where Hood was the senior architect on the Associated Architects, 1933, 1937, with just a few years before the Second World War started to ravage the earth. It is an impressive building for an impressive family, for impressive fortunes. And what can we say? Vertical it is. Some showrooms in Brooklyn, New York, one of them, which looks interesting, who designed a few showrooms for appliance dealer Rex Code. The one shown in the next picture was located in the southwest Brooklyn neighborhood of Bay Ridge. There is a model of a General Electric refrigerator atop the building. If you can see it, is the only resolution I found of this picture. I guess, it was placed a refrigerator on top of the building. The building looks, almost contemporary aesthetically. But the idea to place a refrigerator on top is rather amusing. And this is another showroom. And this is also, I would say, a building that deserves some attention. A showroom for, I don't know, manufacture of appliances. The McGraw-Hill building in New York, 1931. It's a good building. And it stands out even today, and different from the Daily News building and different from the Tribune Tower in Chicago. It's Art Deco. You see the Art Deco ornaments at the top, the way the letters are written there. McGraw-Hill publishers. I guess, these publishers made a lot of money and, they afforded buildings by very tall and very impressive by important architects like Raymond Hood, sorry. McGraw-Hill by Raymond Hood. Some pictures from the inside. I like the lamps. Maybe the color scheme also was by him. New York City. And here is the building, the McGraw-Hill building. The best encyclopedia of art was published by McGraw-Hill. I mean, the one that I know of, an incredible work. But it was initially published in Italy and then translated into English. And McGraw-Hill published it in the 50s and 60s. And I have it, and I have to tell you, each volume is about 4 kilograms in weight. Impressive because of its weight and dimensions as well. Published by McGraw-Hill. Anyway, that's the building. McGraw-Hill, you see it, Raymond Hood. And some newer skyscrapers around. This is a more recent picture. The McGraw-Hill building is still up. And behind, more glass, as you can see, very much dominating the skin of the newer skyscrapers. And this is interesting. I will end with this quotation, which is an ornament on the somewhere, maybe at the entrance in this building. Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. It was the sculptural work, the artwork was done not by Raymond Hood, but by this artist. Wisdom, created by architectural sculptors Lee Lowry and colorist Leon B. Solon, applied ornament above the entrance to 30 Rockefeller Plaza. Sorry, this was, I chose to end this presentation on Raymond Hood, but it doesn't refer to the McGraw-Hill building, but to the Rockefeller Plaza building. So here we have the God in the sky, I guess inspired by William Blake. And then we have the God, the architect, of course. And then we have the message, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Let's only hope so. Let's only hope one day, but no, it's too late. I was thinking that maybe Vladimir Putin should also know something about this, but it's too late. That war in Ukraine has to stop. Thank you, and happy birthday, Raymond Wood.